Hello. I am so happy to be here today. So, what do you think about synchronicities and how sometimes we basically say, everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason, we tell ourselves. And to me, when somebody says that, I think that it's a way of a higher awareness that they have that there is a greater um, source, there's a greater being that is facilitating life with us. And I do mean with us or through us, where the things that happen and the things that occur actually happen for our own benefit. My name is Edna Castillo, and I am with Living Reality Dreams Life Coaching. And I am celebrating the publishing of my book by doing a live every day for 30 days. So today, this weekend I attended a boot camp, and we talked about synchronicities throughout because there were quite a few people there that are not only life coaches but also spiritual people working in the arena of helping people find the synchronicities in their life, find how there's a higher awareness that is helping us through life. But what I wanted to talk with you about is the that when something happens, let's suppose that you're thinking of someone, then the phone rings and it's that person, and it so happened that that person needed to talk to you, or you have an instinct to call someone and that someone may be sick. Do you believe that those are instances in our lives that really determine that we are connected? And how do we make those instances in our life more and more prominent? Well, I've discovered that about 10 years ago, I actually asked Spirit to be more part of my life. And I basically surrendered to whatever was happening in my life. And I've been since then communicating and seeing the synchronicities in my life more and more, because I am more and more aware. It all started in my desire to really find out what my purpose was, because I was in a corporate job 35 years, and there was a little voice that kept saying, there has to be more. Isn't there more in life? It has to be more. So I knew that there was something else for me other than the love of my work, which I did really thoroughly enjoy. But at the same time, I knew that I was meant for something more. So with that, I made a commitment to Spirit to start seeing those synchronicities a lot more, to start become more aware of the communication between Spirit and myself. And since then, it's become more and more prominent. For instance, this morning, I noticed that these earbuds were hung, near my desk, and I had not used these earbuds for a while. And so when when I was getting for this live, it was very easy for me to go and get those earbuds. And I know that had the intention not been there, prior to me even knowing that I needed them, I would not have seen them, and I probably would have been scattered looking for them. That's how infinite helps us in our daily lives. And I know it seems something insignificant, or you may say, what is that about earbuds? But it really truly is the way it works. That as you start thinking, okay, I'm going to be doing my daily talk with my audience, then Spirit starts supporting that in putting out the necessary things that will be needed, including the thoughts, including the things that I'm going to be talking about. If I had not prepared previously. There's other instances in my life in which synchronicities worked. I at one point in time, gosh, about 4 or 5 years ago, I really had the intention of apologizing to a dear friend of mine when I was in middle school, for something that I didn't intend to happen, but I really deeply hurt her. And now I'm this grown woman wanting to apologize to a friend from in her teenage years. And how was I going to be, how was I going to meet this person? You know, I had no idea. But what I kept doing is I kept thinking about it and how I wanted to bring this to life. And one day, and I did that for a good 6 months, where I deep in my heart, I said, I really owe her an apology, and I really want her to know what happened in our lives at that time. And about 6 months later, I was standing in line in a store, and a woman behind me starts saying, Edna, Edna. And so there she was. There she was in my hometown, or where I was living at the time. I mean, in my town, right behind me. And we took the opportunity to exchange phone numbers. And then a week later, we were having coffee, and we spent the next 3-4 hours talking about our time as youth. And also, I apologized for the hurt that I had caused her when we were young. So that's what I'm talking about. You are capable of, and also doing this for yourself once you decide to be on this road, to be on this path of growth. And that's what I describe in my book as deciding to grow. When you decide to grow, there's a definite partnership that occurs with you and infinite intelligence, in which your growth is supported through the experiences that are given to you. And you start beginning to see life differently. The circumstances and conditions that you experience are no longer, gosh, why me? But it's more of a, what do I have to learn in this situation? What am I being told in this situation? How is my awareness? How can I become more aware, more conscious of what spirit life is telling me? So I hope that this serves you. And as always, if you have any questions, if you want to connect, you can reach me at in my website, or simply with messaging me on Facebook. And also, if you care to get a copy of a signed book, you can get it in my website. If not, look for it in Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere books are sold. So it's my pleasure to be with you today, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care. I love you.